edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. We are just a couple of yahoos with computers that try the world in a black and white lens. Of course, my lens is brown. Brock's is a little bit lighter. He's got a little bit less melanin in his complexion than I do. But welcome to Two Men in Black and White. Brock, let's get right into it. We got to fight just about everywhere. First of all, can we? I apologize. I know I'm going to veer off track from our pre-production meeting, but I want to talk about Hope Walls bringing the fire. I just love it. I hadn't seen this clip until you brought it to my attention in the meeting today, and this is the way we got to talk to Donald Trump and his Looney Tunes. Exactly the way Hope Walls responded to the nasty and disgusting names that they are calling her brother and father.
Yeah, it was 80 seconds of fire, and it's like fantastic. This is the way that we need to address MAGA, not with protocols and pleasantries, because
Yep.
that doesn't resonate with them. Like, this needs
No.
to be a blunt force instrument coming back at them on every topic. And I think the memo has finally gotten around because the young people
Yep.
aren't wimps about it, right? They're gonna fight
Right.
harder, right? So Hope Walls is just like today's star of the day. But if you went down the list, Ilhan Omar had a great comeback to Stephen
Yep.
Miller, basically calling him a Nazi, that's flat out what he's doing, right? He's a Jewish Nazi in America. So she called
Yes.
it as she saw it. Don Lemon went out and ripped
It's
Trump a new
amazing.
asshole for his comments on the Somalis, right? And it's just like this is the
Yep.
way we need to engage. And it has to be with energy. But no one better
Yes.
than Hope Walls this morning. Kind of defending her family, but really talking
Absolutely.
for everybody.
Yeah. And, Brock, it's interesting too, because, here in Georgia, very well, we're purple now, but there are some really red segments of the state. And when you look at the news coverage here, you can tell it's got a clear leaning toward the red contingent of the population here in Metro Atlanta. I remember when I was working for the Fox affiliate, our quote unquote viewer was outside the perimeter. It was a white woman with, some education, with a high school education, some college, 2.1 kids, blah, blah, blah. But that was a white woman that we were talking to in the suburbs. And so our coverage, locally still seems to be aimed at that person because we cover crime, lots of crime. And then when we cover politics, we always cover it nicely, right? And we talk to these people like the Andrew Clydes of the world, as if you're dealing with some sort of normal politician, and you're not. See, now Don Lemon wouldn't have been able to go on CNN and do what he did, right? And that's the blessing of YouTube, right? That's the bonus of YouTube is we can say what we actually need to say about these people because they started it, right? Hey, remember Donald Trump came out here and called NFL players sons of bitches after the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. Get those sons of bitches off the field. He started it when he was, running in 16. We're not going to treat these people nice. We're going to throw. Remember the African American woman walking up the steps who got punched in the face by some like 90-year-old decrepit lunatic? I mean, this is what MAGA responds to and understands, right? So you got to speak their language to them.
It's a white supremacy movement, right?
Exactly.
So it's looking to entirely reshape American society
Yep.
and advantage some and disadvantage others. The
Right.
extremes in the movement don't even want democracy anymore. They're all about autocracy. Someone came on our message board and said, "Hey, Brock, go read some Peter Thiel and this guy Yarvin," which I did. And it's like,
Mhm.
these are like the real, fucking doctrinaires behind the Project 2025 like shit. They want to revamp the entire American society. Like this, they
Right.
are fighting a race war.
Right.
So when you're in a war, it's not about pleasantries, right? It's about energy and stamina and how hard you're willing to fight. And
Right.
it's I'm just, granted it's December, right? So it's taken us all year to get
Right.
here. But once again, it's come from the bottom up. It's not come from the top down. And the leadership on the Dem side still has to change because it ain't coming from Chuck Schumer or
Right.
even Jeffries, right? It's coming from younger people, many of those outside the system that are bringing the real energy to the resistance movement.
Right.
And the change has to happen. It has to happen fast. Either some leaders need to either step aside or they have to totally revamp their tactics.
Absolutely. Because, and look, I get it. You've been used to operating within the bounds of institutional norms, let's call them. We're not operating there anymore. January 6th changed all that, right? When people died trying to sack the Capitol, everything changed. And our politicians should have turned up the volume at that point. Of course, then, we got an inactive Merrick Garland, who was not up for the moment. Joe Biden was not up to pressuring Garland to get up to the moment. And so we're stuck with this same brand of lunacy, the same racism, the same policies, only this time he's got people willing to carry this crap out. And that's the frightening part.
What
Uh,
norms are we playing to? We're bombing boats
exactly.
in the Caribbean, right? There's
Right.
there's gerrymandering, mid-decade just to try to, maintain some semblance of control in Congress. There's massive voter roll, scrubbing of voter rolls to get black and brown people off the voter rolls, right? I mean, exactly where, we have, masked agents running around the country, knocking on people's doors and tackling them in the streets and
Right.
throwing them in the back of vans. We have fucking 6,500 detainees currently in ICE facilities
Right.
across the country. I mean,
Right.
it's fucking out of control. So what norms are we playing to? We have a Supreme Court that's rubber stamping shit that's so out of bounds to what sort of rule of law and how
Yep.
society has functioned in America for like a century, and they're just peeling us back to an earlier age in America, less enlightened age in America. So there's no norm to play to.
No.
Like this just has to be defeated. Like this is a fight that has to be won.
Yeah. And it's pretty sad that it took us a year to get to this point where we've got enough gumption to get up and say, yo, you people are fucking nuts. Like we watched 4 years of it, right? Like the damage that's been done just in the past year, Brock. How long will it take to correct? We got to totally revamp the Department of Education. They've torn that thing down. And I swear they've torn it down so they can privatize it,
Yeah, of course.
right?
Vouchers and all that shit, private
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah.
It's all racism's totally behind it. We'll have to
Absolutely.
rebuild the Department of Justice. We'll
Yes.
have to rebuild trust in the populace that
Yep.
rulings are going to be fair. We're going to
Yep.
have to roll back all this fucking climate change disaster that, we're back to an oil economy, right? And we've like
Right.
pulled the plug on all the green energy initiatives that have gone on. We're going to have to rebuild that entire industry as it goes backwards in the
Right.
Trump era. I mean, there's so much fucking work to be done. It's going to
Right.
take decades.
Right. And that's the sad part,
That's
Brock.
if we started today, but it's going
Right.
to get worse.
Right. And here's the thing. Um, so many lives are going to be impacted, not for now, but for a generation or two to come, right? Because Think about how Black America fought its way out of institutional racism. It was through education, right? And now we have these Project 2025 Heritage Foundation nut jobs trying to take away, right, the educational institutions that provided opportunity for Black America. And I'm talking about the HBCUs. We already know that the only reason that Black athletes are accepted in the Southeast Conference is because they can help bring
Because
in
they can play
so
so
much
much money.
money. Brock, when you look at the Southeast Conference, right, and look at the schools and what people had to do to, Bear Bryant didn't want a Black athlete until he got roasted by one, until USC came to Alabama
Yep.
and beat the brakes off of Alabama with Sam Bam Cunningham. Okay, that's our lifetime, bro. But they realized they couldn't compete without the Black athletes, so they went and got a whole bunch of them. Now they're dangling hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in front of them. And you know why? You know what drives the economy in Baton Rouge, Brock? 6, 7 Saturdays out of the year, right? Same thing in Starkville, right? Same thing in Oxford. Same thing in all these little towns. There's nothing in Tuscaloosa besides the University of Alabama. And it generates millions. And now that their basketball team is off the chain, right? You got more money being generated over and over and over again, year in and year out. And it's due to the Black athlete. Now you can come here and play for, and I'll always revert to the sign that this African American man held up during the George Floyd protests. I wish America loved me like they did when I played college football. Right? Because you're seen one way in one lens when you're an athlete balling for the school. And you're seen a totally different way when you walk into the same store as that individual without a football uniform on and without a very nice suit. Right? You become a suspect in his eyes. And that's the problem. They're taking away the opportunities that we once had. My father went to college on the GI Bill, right? That's how he paid for college, through military service. Right now, we're not wanted in the military, and you're taking the money away from our HBCUs. Where's the opportunity?
Yeah, but even earlier in the process, they're taking money away from the public schools, right? All these voucher
Exactly.
programs and all this shit, right? It's like,
Exactly.
oh, well, we don't want integrated schools. It's like it's this de facto segregation is
Yep.
what we're moving back to, and
Yep.
elitist America, right? Where money drives everything. It's always driven most of things, but now
Yep.
this, you know, Project 2025 is pushing that to the extreme, right? That's the America
Right.
they're trying to build, a less democratic America, right? They want a ruling elite that
Yep.
has most, if not all, the money, and that's where all the tech bros come into play. That's why they've jumped on the MAGA bandwagon because they have a
Right.
vision you know, in essence, a monarchical type system where they're at the top of the heap, right? When they talk about
Right.
not believing in democracy, they don't. They certainly don't think it's them that are going to get hurt by it, right? They see
No.
themselves as the ruling class. So they're like,
Right.
wow, why does all these people get one person, one vote?
Right.
That's not how maximize society. And that's like
Yep.
the methodology behind all these thinking, and it's the methodology behind all these policies that are being put in place that are going to have to be unwound, right? All the way down to the CDC and RFK, right?
Right.
There's racism underneath all of it. He's like a eugenics guy and a master race and best genes, and it's all white supremacy thinking put into play. Because who's going to get hurt the most by the
Yep.
policies?
Yep.
It's the people of color, and people, people of color and white people with no money.
With no money. Right. Rural white America that's steady voting for Trump and his cronies. That Tennessee 7 district
Still, I was gonna say
voting
they're
for
still voting
Trump.
for him. Still
Yeah.
voting for him.
Back alike. Yeah. And what are you going to get for your vote? you're going to get heartache and despair. You better figure out how to eat those votes because your SNAP benefits are going to go away. He's doing it again with the SNAP program, trying to figure out ways he can withhold benefits from Democratic led states and cities. So if we're not going to stand up and fight back right now for not for ourselves but for our generations. I look at my granddaughter. I got another one on the way. My grandsons, and I'm scared for the America that they have to grow up in, bro. And you know what? I've never felt as many warts as America has. I've never really, considered it all that bad, right? But man, look how far we've turned the clock back. I always said, man, I don't know if I could have made it back in the 40s and 50s. My dad used to tell me stories about their college baseball team pulling up to restaurants and have to go around back to pick up the food.
Yeah, separate water fountains, right?
Yeah,
Like true
all that
segregation.
shit. My mother told me she would never go back to South Carolina because of the way a white man treated her on the bus one day. And she's never been back except to visit. And so, you hear these stories and you're like, man, I can't imagine we're living in that right now. Just go on social media, right? And you can see people carrying on with this, white America so What are they so angry about, Brock? Please tell me. They got everything.
Too many
Y'all,
brown people.
everything.
Too many brown people around them.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
they're so angry about. They don't like that the country's shifting. They're not in control of shit in the same way that quote they used to be, or they used to their fathers and grandfathers used to be. So
Right.
they don't like the changes. So they're fighting back against them. This has all been a reaction to the demographic changes in America. I mean, some people say it's a reaction to Obama, but I think it's bigger than that. I think
Yeah.
it's more of a reaction to not being a majority, white America not being in a majority anymore,
Right.
and the fear that comes
Right.
with not running shit anymore. But getting back to your point of your father and your mother's stories, they were allowed to be treated like shit with impunity because
Yes.
it was endorsed
Right.
by the government.
Yep.
No one was going to come in and arrest them for harassment, right? They had no recourse. There's no
Right.
lawsuit that they were going to be able to put forward, right? No,
Right.
that's the way society worked, and they had to get in line or it was going to get worse for them, right? They'll get a beat down instead of just harassment. And that's
Yep.
sort of where we are because you got ICE agents running around giving people beat downs, right? And it's government endorsed beat downs. And
Yep.
you got people, yeah, driving by Governor Walz's house and yelling shit
Alan.
at his young son which is why Hope is going ape shit. And with impunity, that's just
Right.
allowed now, not even legally allowed, but accepted by a good chunk of society.
And can you blame Hope Walls for having that kind of reaction for the way they're treating her brother? Her dude, you know, you can tell. Like, remember when I told you it starts in the home? Remember when I said that? This is exactly what she has learned. And listening to the other clip that we listened to from her, talking about how rich she was because her family finds joy in each other. That's what I'm telling you, man. It starts at home. It's racism is taught. You put toddlers in a little playpen, they're gonna play with each other. They don't care what color the other toddlers are. They're gonna play with the toys. They might fight over a toy or two, but they're not gonna hate each other. They don't start hating each other until they're taught to hate each other. They
But
don't start hating each other.
I mean, just think about what a massive piece of shit you have to be to drive by the home of someone with learning disabilities to heckle them. Like, what
Right,
the fuck are you getting out of that? Like,
right,
what? I mean, that is what you feel the need to do to, like,
right,
feel better in your society. I mean,
right.
I always say, right, a society is judged by how it treats its
Yep,
neediest members, right?
yep,
And that's how MAGA treats needy members. And it's like, it's a disgrace, and it's why we're in a fight, and it's why we can't play soft, and why we can't play to norms and certain protocols. Unfortunately, you got to go down and wrestle it to the ground and then rebuild something better. But you can't,
Right.
we can't take the high road.
At
You can't
all.
go high ever with this group.
No,
We're going to have to go low for years, probably the next
no.
3 years.
And I love Michelle Obama, but she was wrong when she said when they go low, we go high. What she should have said was when they go low, we go fuck that shit and fight back, right? Because going high is not a language that they understand, right? Speaking to them, you know, remember I talked about the value of education. What's Trump's famous quote? I love the poorly educated,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's where it lives, right? And that's Brock. Why do you think we have people showing up at pizza places shooting people? That's why we have these rabbit holes and people being, radicalized online, right? Because they're not searching for truth. They're
They're
searching
not
for
searching
some
for
sort
truth.
of connection.
We had a guy come on the chat board, I think it was just yesterday, being like, you libtards getting all your information from the fake news media, prove to me Donald Trump is racist. I'm like, well, just 24 hours ago, he called Somalis garbage. Like,
Right.
my argument back to him was like, stop trying to convince yourself, pretend that Trump's not racist. Just acknowledge you don't care.
Right.
Like, don't like. Well, I could have given a laundry list. I didn't want to bother with the
Right.
argument.
Waste
Right?
your
Like, of
time.
course he's
Right.
racist. He would admit he's racist
Yep.
in a private conversation. He think wasn't going to get out, but shit, he
Right.
got sued in the '70s for being racist. The fucking guy's been racist for
But
79 years, right? He
it's
was
in the
taught to
family
be
business.
racist by his Nazi Ku Klux Klan attending father, and that's who he is. Why argue he's not racist?
It's
Like
in the family
that's not even,
DNA.
don't even put your energy there. Just
Right.
say it doesn't matter to you.
Right. Right. I'm sorry, it's not in the family DNA because Mary Trump is a normal human being with good sense and a good brain and a good heart. It's so sad that Mary Trump had to endure what she did from Donald and the way he was
Yeah, but
treated.
she's slightly in
But
a different part of the tree. If you go down
right,
directly from Donald,
right,
you got a bunch of fucking
right,
yahoos. I mean, maybe Tiffany's not
right,
off the rails, but we'll never know it.
right. But if it well, didn't the dad call her pudgy or chubby or something
Yeah,
not too
he's
long ago?
she's
So
not
yeah,
good. She's not good enough looking for him.
yeah, yeah. He doesn't want to date that daughter. Ill. But yeah, we've got to hit them where they live. But in terms of speaking of fighting back, we got Mayor-elect Mondani, who's giving out information and has recorded a video on how to thwart ICE. So we've got ICE confrontations and fighting back all over the country: LA, Chicago, New York, Louisiana, New Orleans. Every place ICE is showing up, they're meeting resistance because it's wrong, it's unlawful. They're grabbing American citizens. It's a fucking joke, and we need to put some people in prison when this regime is gone in 2028.
Yeah, I love that we're making their lives miserable, and I respect the
Yeah.
people that are out there. I saw them with like bullhorns and cowbells in Louisiana, telling people not to open the door because they don't
Yep.
have to legally unless there's a warrant. And I love that Mondani's doing it. Let that leadership come from the top.
Right.
And because New York's gearing up to push back the ice raids, right? They
Yep.
embarrassed the first big raid, but that's not going to end this fight, right? It's going to
No.
be a lot of skirmishes on the streets.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking for New York to make a big, big showing. And I guarantee you that Trump love affair with Mondani is going to end real fucking quick. I
Oh,
think I
very
told you
quick.
that 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
that I didn't buy it for a heartbeat, and I still don't buy it. And once Trump sees that fucking PSA he put out, he's gonna blow a gasket. And when he sees New York fighting back against ICE, it's gonna be game on. But
Right.
that's
And,
what we're
and
gonna have to do.
Right. When you think about ICE coming to New York, I mean, we have a part of New York that we've known all our lives as Spanish Harlem. We have a part of New York that we've known all our lives as Chinatown. We have a part in New York where our Hasidim lives, the Hasidic Jews. We have parts of New York that are dedicated to immigration. We have Ellis Island, for God's sake. Like, and you're going to defile and come in here and piss on our city because you're a hateful piece of garbage for politics, control, and money, because you suck as a businessman, you're going to loot the federal government and go along with the racist Looney Tunes that are propping you up.
New York's the most diverse and international city in America. I mean, it just,
Right.
arguably probably in the
In the
world.
world.
Yeah, in the
Right.
world. So,
8 million stories.
I mean, it's a bad, ICE's life could be made miserable and should
Yes.
be. And
Yes.
I think New York's ready for the fight. And I'm glad Mondani won
Yep.
because he's the person for the fight and he'll message it properly and he'll
Yep.
bring a youthful energy to those encounters.
Yes.
And hopefully he's going to do what Minneapolis did, which is remind the police also that they should and will not be cooperating and should be making arrests when they see unlawful ICE activity. So,
Right.
that was the message in Minneapolis, and that's where shit gets, it gets contentious, but
Yep.
that's where it's going to have to go.
Oh well, you asked for it. Now you're going to get it. I'm surprised ICE agents haven't been shot and shot at.
Nothing yet. Yeah.
Nothing yet.
Been pretty
But
good.
but you know what? You keep barking up that tree, and somebody's going to get pissed off. Somebody's going to pull a gun out of their car. You see, they're not in Atlanta. Everybody in Atlanta has a gun, right? Everybody in Georgia is packing heat. I heard they were down in an area of Metro Atlanta where there's a huge Hispanic population, but I didn't hear about a whole lot of arrests. And I saw a bunch of protests out there at the same time. So, you know, I look again, they want cheap labor and they also want to be racist as fuck. Like, you can't have both.
It's a tough mix.
You can't have both.
It's a tough mix unless you can get a bunch of white people out there working for
There you go.
nothing.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Absolutely
No.
not. Absolutely
The white,
not.
the white guy that I know wants benefits. He wants a pension. He wants a retirement plan, you know, and he wants a good salary. So they ain't paying that, to put tiles on roofs in 107 degrees. They're just not doing it. Just not paying it. So, you know, it used to piss me off, when I'd ride around the neighborhood and see people getting new roofs put on 7, 8 guys on the roof, right? One white guy standing there drinking a frosty cold beverage, right? Making all the money, $15,000 for a brand new roof. And, he's paying out pennies to the help, helping them do a roof a day, right? They'll turn around a roof in a day, take it off in one day, put it on the next. Fucking ridiculous. But yeah, man. All right, before we get out of here, what do you got for me for a quick hit?
Even Kristen Collins fought back. University of Alabama Crimson Tide Kristen Collins.
Ooh.
Even she pushed back because Trump called her stupid because she asked him some questions about what the fuck's going on with his ballroom and why it's over budget and behind schedule and the workers are quitting
Like
and the
everything
like.
else he's
And
built.
she went after him. She came back. So hopefully that becomes a model for the media not taking shit? Because for the most part, these women in particular have gotten chewed out and insulted by Trump, and no one's
Sure.
really backed them, and we haven't really seen them bite back. Maybe
Right.
because it's not endorsed by their organizations and they get fired if they bite back and they're told to just, keep quiet, suck it up, that it's
Right.
part of the job. But Caitlin Collins, decided it wasn't part of the job, at least for today. So I'm glad to see that. I hope that becomes a trend as well. Because,
Right.
basically the mainstream media sucks for the
Right.
most part.
Awful.
We got a couple people worth watching, but for the most part, they've rolled over.
Yep. And Jake Tapper came to her defense. How about that? He's still alive. He's not, working on another Biden book. How about that? I didn't know where he was, but he came to Caitlin's defense,
He
which
did.
I
Okay.
thought was
They
interesting.
don't really follow what Jake's doing much anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not worth it.
Kind of lost his credibility for me.
No
I
doubt.
thought there was some hope in him, but no, he's kind of lost. He's lost me.
Yeah, and how about the World Cup draw that features the leaders of Mexico, Canada, and Trump? Claudia Scheinbaum and Mark Carney will have, I'm sure, plenty of quiet conversations um, without the Donald present. And when you look at the contrast of those three leaders in their first face-to-face meeting that they had, because the World Cup draw, they had the meeting at the Kennedy Center Friday afternoon, and the three of them were there, so they had to talk to this clown face-to-face. We I would imagine they have so many questions for this Looney Tune, right? Because what are we going to stop all ice activity when the World Cup starts? Like, so you basically said, hey, you folks that like to travel and follow your football teams, can't do it here. Go to the games that are happening in Canada and Mexico, but you can't come to America because, you know, you might get scooped up by ice, right? And end up in, who knows where? Somalia?
I don't know how we're gonna have tens of thousands to up to hundred thousands of people from all over the world coming here for these games and
Comfortably.
have ice activity floating around. I mean, it'd just be a shit show. I mean, ice is gonna have to. I mean, it'll. Trump will just decide what makes him look bad, right? And I think
Right.
the crackdowns during the tournament would make him look bad. So my
Oh,
guess would be that there would be a little bit of a standing down of ice, certainly in any city in which there's a game. I
right.
just think it would be. I just think Trump would look like a chump on the world stage, and he doesn't like that, right? So I think maybe there's a chance that we just don't make a total fucking disaster out of the fucking World Cup, but
Right.
there's a chance we do.
But anything's possible with Trump. And we're hosting games here in Atlanta too. Um, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. Remember, the Secretary of State here recorded Trump's phone call. That case is still pending.
Mhm.
So he was not happy with the Secretary of State and the Deputy Secretary. What he's not happy with Kemp. Um, so, our current governor. So, who knows what could happen in the state of
Who
Georgia when
knows?
these
Six
games
months
come
from
out.
now, Trump's going to be so gone mentally. I mean, holy
Oh
shit.
my God,
He's not even going to
anything's possible.
remember. He's not going to remember that he
And he's
might not even
president.
remember
He
to
may
wear
not
that
even know
fancy
that.
little necklace they gave him for being the, peace prize, FIFA peace prize.
It's one of the great honors of my life. It was an award that didn't exist until
Didn't
now.
exist. They had to come up with it just for him. He's so grandiose.
Freaking clown. All right, buddy, that's it for us today. Let's rack it up and do it again tomorrow.
All right, Mark, always a pleasure. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
That's good. Peace.